back to the channel. Today we're going to unravel some incredibly complex events in Genoa. Rumors are circulating around the Newman family, but what's the truth? In this video, I'll summarize the plot points that will be revealed in the next episode. Stay tuned to see what happens. Welcome back to our channel for another exclusive deep dive update into the chaotic world of Genoa City. Today is a beautiful, thrilling day to unpack some of the most explosive, heart-stopping drama we have seen in years. We have secured a massive breaking news leak regarding the Abbott family, and the impending fallout is guaranteed to leave you absolutely speechless. Let's get right into it. Young and the Restless spoilers. No one expected this to happen, but the pristine, historically revered walls of the legendary Abbott mansion are about to witness a psychological bloodbath of unprecedented, catastrophic proportions. In a stunning breaking news leak straight from the inner sanctums of the Young and the Restless production team, we can exclusively reveal that a massive family implosion is on the immediate horizon. The Abbott family, a powerful dynasty built on unwavering loyalty, corporate legacy, and the enduring, sacred memory of their late patriarch, John Abbott, is about to be violently torn apart from the inside out. At the very center of this devastating, impending storm is a shocking, high-stakes confrontation that pits a fiercely protective sister against her desperate brother and logical sanity against pure, unadulterated psychological manipulation. The profound peace that has so long been the bedrock of the Abbott household is about to be shattered into a million irreparable pieces, and the ultimate catalyst for this absolute destruction is none other than the notoriously unstable, deeply calculating, and incredibly dangerous Patty Williams. For decades, Traci Abbott has been the undisputed moral compass, the celebrated author, and the gentle, enduring peacemaker of the Abbott clan. She has weathered countless devastating storms, serving as the unbreakable emotional anchor for her siblings through hostile corporate takeovers, tragic personal losses, and bitter, highly publicized divorces. However, every saint has an absolute breaking point, and Traci has finally, explosively reached hers. According to our exclusive script leak, Traci can no longer sit back in silence and watch her beloved family be infiltrated, manipulated, and poisoned by Patty's deeply toxic presence. The suffocating, unbearable tension within the mansion has simply become too much for her to endure. Driven by a fierce, maternal, protective instinct and a deep-seated, entirely justified terror of Patty's dark, violent history, a history that has inflicted immeasurable, lingering pain on their family in the past, Traci takes a drastic, unprecedented step. She calls for an emergency, mandatory family meeting right in the heart of the Abbott living room, setting the grand stage for a brutal confrontation that will alter the trajectory of their lives forever. When this highly anticipated meeting commences, the atmosphere is described in the leaked scripts as being thick enough to cut with a knife. Traci, usually soft-spoken, empathetic, and accommodating, transforms instantly into a fierce, unyielding matriarch defending her sacred territory. She does not mince her words, nor does she hold back her blazing fury. In a blistering, uncompromising public confrontation, Traci completely and ruthlessly exposes Patty's manipulative behaviors for everyone to see. She lays out a damning, chronological timeline of Patty's recent lies, her carefully calculated schemes, and her insidious, creeping attempts to weave herself back into the intimate fabric of Jack's life. Traci's voice trembles with a potent mixture of profound grief and righteous, burning fury as she articulates exactly how Patty has been operating like an emotional parasite, feeding off the vulnerabilities and the lingering traumas of the Abbott family. She demands, with absolute, unwavering authority and a steely gaze, that Patty pack her bags and leave the Abbott mansion and their lives immediately and permanently. But Patty Williams is absolutely not one to be easily discarded or intimidated by righteous anger. The brilliant, deeply twisted, and highly adaptable mind of Patty goes to work instantly. Instead of lashing out with a violent, terrifying unpredictability she has exhibited so many times in her dark past, Patty employs a far more dangerous, insidious tactic. She plays the role of the ultimate, fragile, broken victim. Her eyes well up with perfectly timed, manufactured tears. Her posture physically shrinks, projecting an image of a misunderstood, heavily reformed, and deeply wounded woman who is simply trying to find a little bit of genuine love and acceptance in a harsh, unforgiving world. She looks to Jack with wide, pleading, tear-streaked eyes, silently and desperately begging for a savior to rescue her from Traci's verbal assault. It is an absolute masterclass in psychological manipulation, designed specifically and precisely to trigger Jack's inherent, well-documented savior complex and to paint Traci as a cruel, jealous, and bitterly unforgiving aggressor. What happens next is the true, jaw-dropping shocker of the leak, a defining moment that will leave dedicated fans screaming at their television screens in pure disbelief. Instead of standing firmly by his loyal sister, instead of acknowledging the horrific, undeniable history that Patty brings with her into their home, Jack Abbott steps forward and vehemently, passionately defends Patty. He publicly and loudly contradicts Traci, arguing with intense conviction that she is completely misunderstanding the delicate situation. Jack insists, with a straight face, that Patty has genuinely changed, that she is currently incredibly vulnerable, and that Traci's harsh accusations are not only entirely unfounded, but also unnecessarily cruel and vindictive. The profound betrayal in the room is thick and palpable. Jack's fierce defense of the very woman who has caused them so much historical agony hits Traci like a brutal, physical blow to the chest. The older brother she has loved, supported, and counseled for her entire life is actively, consciously choosing a known, dangerous threat over his own flesh and blood. The initial heartbreak on Traci's expressive face quickly hardens into a devastating, horrifying realization. In a deeply emotional, tear-filled, and incredibly powerful denunciation, Traci accuses Jack of being completely and utterly blinded by Patty's sweet, venomous words. She looks her brother dead in the eye and tells him he is entirely delusional, enchanted, and hopelessly lost in a toxic, suffocating fog of Patty's masterful creation. Traci passionately and loudly argues that Jack has completely forgotten the core foundational values of their family, that he has foolishly forsaken the desperate warnings of the people who truly love him, all for the sake of a deeply disturbed woman who is fundamentally incapable of genuine, healthy love. Traci openly mourns the tragic loss of the brilliant, discerning, and powerful Jack Abbott she once knew, lamenting to the room that he has been tragically reduced to a mere mindless puppet dancing effortlessly on Patty's intricately woven strings. Pushed to the absolute, unforgiving edge of her emotional endurance, Traci makes a solemn vow that will undoubtedly send massive shockwaves through the entirety of Genoa City. She draws a hard, immovable line in the sand, declaring with absolute certainty that she will protect the pristine legacy of John Abbott and the physical and emotional safety of their family at any and all costs. In a chilling, resolute, and uncharacteristically cold tone, Traci announces that she is fully prepared to go to war. If protecting the revered Abbott name means she has to go head-to-head, directly and ruthlessly, against her own beloved brother, then so be it. Traci sheds her lifelong peacemaker persona entirely in this moment, transforming into a formidable, terrifying adversary who is willing to burn down Jack's current, twisted reality in order to save the family from Patty's impending catastrophic destruction. It is a formal declaration of familial civil war, and Traci makes it abundantly clear she will never back down. Meanwhile, Patty capitalizes on the newly fractured, bleeding sibling dynamic with terrifying, surgical precision Sensing the massive gaping rift she has successfully created between brother and sister, Patty leans heavily into the ensuing chaos. She subtly and brilliantly manipulates Jack's heightened emotions, whispering sweet, validating reassurances into his ear while simultaneously casting herself as the tragic, innocent target of Traci's supposedly unwarranted jealousy. Patty softly and venomously suggests that Traci simply cannot handle the idea of Jack finding true happiness, expertly twisting Traci's fierce, maternal, protective instincts into a false narrative of bitter, lonely resentment. Every single fake tear Patty sheds, every trembling, dramatic breath she takes, is a highly calculated, strategic maneuver designed to bind Jack closer to her side and to isolate him further from the only people who possess the clarity to actually save him. However, our extensive breaking news leak reveals a massive, hidden, incredibly complex layer to this entire explosive confrontation, a layer that the fiercely protective Traci is completely and utterly oblivious to. Jack Abbott is not actually under Patty's dark spell. He is not blinded by her sweet words, nor has he forgotten his deeply ingrained family values. The explosive, mind-bending truth is that Jack is currently running the most dangerous, high-stakes psychological con of his entire storied life. Jack is secretly, desperately trying to set a massive, inescapable trap for Patty. He knows with absolute certainty that Patty is the key, the insurmountable, dangerous obstacle standing between him and his kidnapped, terrified wife, Diane Jenkins. Jack is fully aware that he must neutralize Patty completely, playing along with her twisted, romantic fantasies so he can finally make his bold move on, Doctor. Markham's heavily fortified house and rescue Diane from her terrifying, isolated captivity. This hidden, desperate agenda makes the family meeting an agonizing, physically suffocating experience for Jack. As he stands there in the living room, loudly defending Patty and watching his beloved sister Traci break down in genuine tears of profound betrayal, Jack's internal panic is reaching an explosive boiling point. He is screaming on the inside, desperately and overwhelmingly wanting to pull Traci aside, hug her, and tell her the absolute truth that this is all an elaborate act, a necessary, painful evil, designed solely to save Diane's life. But he absolutely cannot break character. Patty is watching his every single move, analyzing his every word with her predatory gaze. Jack is forced to swallow his immense guilt and flawlessly play the role of the enchanted, foolish lover. His greatest, most paralyzing fear in this moment is not Patty, but Traci. Jack is terrified that Traci's completely justified, yet utterly misinformed crusade against Patty will blow his fragile cover, derail his meticulously laid trap, and ultimately get Diane killed. But the tragedy of this unfolding storyline runs even deeper, spiraling rapidly into a narrative twist that elevates this from a standard family drama to a full-blown, terrifying psychological thriller. Jack truly believes he is the mastermind here, carefully and brilliantly manipulating Patty into a false, comforting sense of security. He thinks he is playing an unmatched game of 3D chess, sacrificing his family's short-term trust for a long-term victory. But the devastating, horrifying reality is that Patty Williams is already 10 steps ahead of him. As we have learned from the detailed timeline of leaked events, Patty secretly eavesdropped on Jack and Kyle's highly private, desperate conversation. She knows exactly what Jack is planning. She knows that his newfound affection is a complete lie, that his passionate defense of her against Traci is a calculated, desperate performance, and that he is actively plotting to take her down. Patty Williams is holding all the winning cards, and she is playing Jack Abbott with a level of sadistic, brilliant cruelty that is truly terrifying to behold. She is fully, completely aware that Jack's trap is waiting for her, and she is expertly using that knowledge to turn the trap entirely back on him. By allowing Jack to mistakenly think he is succeeding in his deception, Patty is actively encouraging him to alienate his entire vital support system. She watched with internal wicked glee as Jack systematically destroyed his beautiful relationship with Traci during the family meeting. Patty is weaponizing Jack's own desperate rescue mission against him, ensuring that when the dust finally settles, Jack will have absolutely no family left to turn to, and Diane will remain hopelessly, permanently out of his reach. The dark irony is sickening. Jack is sacrificing his family's sacred trust to save Diane, while Patty is using that exact painful sacrifice to ensure his absolute, total ruin. As the highly charged emergency family meeting finally concludes, the atmosphere left behind in the Abbott mansion is nothing short of deeply toxic and irreparably damaged. Traci storms out of the room, her heart hardened into stone, her resolve absolute, and her once unbreakable relationship with Jack seemingly severed beyond all hope of repair. She leaves behind a heavy, suffocating silence that rings in Jack's ears. Jack stands there, profoundly isolated and emotionally exhausted, truly believing he has just paid the ultimate agonizing price to keep his undercover rescue mission alive. He looks over at Patty, forcing a warm, reassuring smile onto his face, completely and tragically unaware that he is staring directly into the eyes of an apex predator who has already decisively won the game. The mansion, once a shining beacon of warmth and family unity, has been transformed into a cold, dark chessboard where every single move leads closer to absolute disaster. This explosive, multi-layered sequence of events leaves us with an incredibly tense, wide-open ending that is absolutely sure to ignite massive, passionate debates across the entire soap opera fandom. Will Traci's relentless, well-intentioned, and fierce crusade to protect the Abbott legacy inadvertently sabotage Jack's fragile, desperate plan and seal Diane's tragic, terrifying fate? Will Jack ever realize that his brilliant, calculated trap has actually been a masterclass in self-destruction orchestrated flawlessly by the very woman he thought he was fooling? Or will Patty's ultimate, twisted endgame result in the complete and total annihilation of the Abbott family as we know it? One thing is absolutely, undeniably certain. The psychological war in Genoa City has just begun. The stakes have never been higher, and the impending casualties are going to be devastatingly severe. Stay tuned, keep your eyes glued to the screen, because this storyline is about to explode in ways no one could have ever predicted.